Alright, hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and of course we are back with your monthly dose of the three grumpy flight simmers, and of course I'm joined by my fantastic my two grumpy colleagues. We've got Belgio,
Hey,
and of course we've got Sergio from Heli Simmer.
Hey guys.
Alrighty, so we are once again, well, we're not so much the technically challenged simmers this month, we've simply been the technically creative simmers this month. It's been a
yes.
interesting hour to get this one going, but that's okay, we're good to go now. Anyway, so technical challenges aside, we're going to be starting this episode with some technical chat today, and of course we're going to be going to a bit of hardware now because one of our member has become the recent owner and proud owner of a certain piece of VR hardware. Now we've sort of talked about VR hardware and the possible future of VR in terms of our flight simulation space and our sort of simulation space previously here, but now that we have one of our member who both Sergio and I are kind of a bit jealous of,
I wonder which member that could be, huh?
so now that Drew Belgiot has his VR, so we want to hear his thoughts. Belgiot, what are your thoughts on VR?
Everything that everybody has said about it being a game changer is 100% correct. So yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, for those who don't know, the Oculus Rift, this bad boy here, has been on sale for probably the last 4 weeks, and it's a limited time sale, so it's probably only going to go on for like another 2 weeks or something like that. It literally drops it to half price. Normally it's $800 US, got it for 400, and it took a few days for them to deliver it, like 2 or 3. But once it's got here, I had the opportunity to test it out with DCS World, which of course is native VR supported. How do I put this? I tried it in the Huey, and I swear I was having flashbacks of Vietnam flying in that thing. It's that realistic. The videos cannot convey just how impressive this thing actually is when you're sitting in it and you're looking around and you can literally peer through the side window. It's just amazing. I don't know how I'm going to even record videos with this thing. This is just nuts. But probably the most important thing that I've learned from just the brief time utilizing it, and I did try it with Fly Inside for X-Plane and FSX. I have the demo versions. I need to buy the full versions for that. Hopefully I can get a discount. But the main thing that I've learned is that the depth perception really does make a difference as far as trying to learn how to utilize the aircraft. Because before, we're used to the 2D panels when we do our flying, so we can't really gauge, when we're coming into land or whatnot, just how far up or how far from the runway we are. When you translate that into the VR experience, into the 3D world, it's a night and day difference. All of a sudden, my lineups on approach actually look like they're supposed to look. I'm able to manipulate everything, and it feels natural. So it gives me that muscle memory, so to speak. I can figure out where all the gauges and all the switches and everything are, and it just works. It's so much better. It's like a night and day simming experience. So I would highly recommend it for everybody. If you can afford it, if you can get it, absolutely go ahead. I don't know when the next iterations are going to come, like the next level of VR. But for what it is right now, I think it's evolved to a point where it's definitely usable by the general public, and especially if there are people who are trying to get into simming, learning simming, it does make a huge difference. Some setup is required, however, so I'll leave you with that caveat.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that, Drew. You're using it, almost on a daily basis for the last few days. And what kind of setup do you have? What's your graphic card and processor and whatnot?
You got to have a pretty beefy computer. Okay, so last year, I pretty much spent almost $1,000 to upgrade my computer. So in this computer now, I've got an i7, a hex core i7. I want to say it's a 6700 or something along those lines. I forget the exact number, but needless to say, it's relatively fast. It's like 4
Hmm.
plus gigahertz in speed. As far as memory, you want to make sure you have at least 16 gigs of memory on board, preferably 32 if you can swing it, 16 minimum, because of the fact that when this thing is running, not only is the program that's broadcasting what you're seeing into the Rift going, but you also have your simulator going in the background. You can see that on your computer monitor. Plus, in my case, since I do the video recording, I also have my recording software on there. It starts to eat up memory really quick. As far as hard drive space, it really doesn't take that much. I think the download was like about 3 gigs for the entire Oculus setup program and everything that it needed to run on a consistent basis. So that wasn't all that critical, but with that being said, I would suggest if someone's looking to put together a good gaming rig for this thing, get the things that I suggested and set it up to where you've got like an SSD drive, a small SSD drive, maybe 250 to 500 gigs, have only your system files on there. So whether you're running Windows 7, Windows 10, that sort of thing, just have that on the SSD, and then have all of your flight sims and all the other programs on a secondary drive. It could either be internal or external. Your computer needs to run really quickly in order to generate the FPS that's necessary for this, because I will say if the FPS drops to crap levels, you will get nauseous. You will definitely get nauseous.
Yeah.
It's
What's your graphics card?
My graphics card is the AMD Radeon RX 480. And I'll be honest, the reason why I bought it was because it was cheap. It cost me $250 US as opposed to its competitor card, which is the NVIDIA 1080. It's probably about double the price, I think.
Yeah.
But it gets the job done. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM on board, which is absolutely perfect. I mean, when I have this thing running, I think at the most it uses about half of that. X-Plane a little bit more because X-Plane tends to load like a lot of extra stuff in there, so it might use about 6 or 7 of those gigs. But yeah, a card like that, I would say no less than maybe a 1060 or a 1070, probably a 1070. Or if you want to do like I did and you're on a budget, just go with the RX 480. It's well worth the money.
I think it's actually interesting because I think, and I'm glad you pointed that out with the CPU, is that a lot of people sort of might be moving into the simulation space for the first time and leaving the first person shooter, shall we say, sort of space and moving into our simulation space. There's a bit of a realization that a lot of our simulators are still driven hugely by the CPU, not by the graphics card. I mean, yes, we've had improvements in the graphics support with prepared Flight Sim World, especially in DCS. Like DCS looks stunning with it. It leverages a lot of the graphics capabilities, especially with NVIDIA cards. But I think people forget that the CPU power. I mean, even going back to FS9, FS8 days, CPU power is king of a simulation experience, and you would definitely still back that with the VR world. You still need to have you can have good graphics cards, but if you don't have the CPU, then you can give up.
Yeah, especially if you're planning on using it with something like an FSX and whatnot, which, let's face it, FSX is still going to be around for a while. Unless Dovetail decides to pull the plug on Steam, I don't think we'll ever really, truly see the end of FSX. There'll at least be a core people that'll still use it. If you're planning on using that for the VR experience with something like, say, Fly Inside, absolutely you have to have a fast CPU. Because remember, this thing is multitasking. It's doing the VR, it's doing your sim, it's loading, the scenery on core number 1 by default. So yeah, the faster you can get the CPU, the better.
Tweak it.
Yeah. That I would also recommend, but only for those who actually know what the heck they're doing.
Yes, also true. Yeah, so caveat on that, folks. When we say tweak your config file, make sure you read up and know what you're doing and back everything up.
And back up.
Back up.
Back up. For the love of all that is sacred. Back up. I can't even tell you how many times I've had to learn that one the hard way.
That's good.
No.
So so you've had your VR experience and insanely jealous, insanely jealous. Where do you see it going though? Like you mentioned that you've tried it with DCS, you've tried it with
Hmm.
X-Plane, and FSX using Fly Inside. So we're talking to so DCS sort of natively supports it.
Yeah.
FSX and
Yeah,
X-Plane
straight out
not
of the
so much.
box, literally all you do is just hit a checkbox and it runs.
Nice. FSX X-Plane, you've got to use third-party software to make it
Hmm.
work at the moment. What do you
Right.
see?
And then the caveat with X-Plane, not to
Mm,
interrupt, but the caveat with X-Plane is later on this year, they will have native VR support. So really, you should only need something like Fly Inside for like FSX prepared.
all right. Well, that's perfect then, because the question I sort of have is that, do you see this is where it should go, like where our developers. I mean, obviously we've got our main players at the moment: Laminar, Lockheed,
Mm,
and Eagle Dynamics and Dovetail. Is
right.
should they be focusing on VR, or should they be going? VR is great. We're going to have support for it, but it shouldn't be their core. Should it be their core focus, or should it be a nice to have?
I'm going to guess he's going to say no.
At
I'm
this
not
point,
sure. I'm not
actually,
sure.
actually, at this point, it's kind of a little like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'll clarify that by saying this. The only reason why I was able to purchase this is because it was on sale. So right now, the technology is still, for most budgets, kind of expensive. But then we're talking about a group of people that are used to spending $1,000, $2,000 in add-ons for their Sims. So, if you're willing to, put in the investment and the time and get something like that, then the market is already there. Now, as far as the developers themselves,
Hmm.
DCS is already on board. They've already said it's the wave of the future, and it does make a huge difference when it comes to utilizing that as a combat sim. For like X-Plane, which honestly, the way that I view X-Plane is if I were taking flight lessons again, that's what I would use to do my homework. That's what I would use to practice on. And I think Laminar realizes that that's the major potential that their software has. So they're also on board. They do see that as the way of the future. And I fully agree with them on that. The X-Plane experience is probably as close to realistic as you can get. So yeah, VR is the only way to go there. For like FSX and so on and so forth. For FSX, really, it's kind of like a nice to have. But I think that if Dovetail is going to continue the work with like Flight Sim World, eventually, yeah, they do need to get on board with the whole VR thing because when you put all that time, effort, and energy into something like True Sky, which just came out in a recent update,
Mm, mm.
in a VR experience, that's basically taking it to the next level. And especially if they focus on native VR support, I think that's going to do a great justice as far as them cornering the market or them getting a larger market share. Personally, all the flight sims need to be doing VR. It should be a no-brainer at this point. And as soon as the price of the technology starts coming down, you're going to find more and more people jumping on board. I guarantee you, with this sale that's been going on, a lot more people have gotten into the VR space. I've just noticed that in some of the Facebook groups that we're all in. There have been a lot of people crawling out of the woodwork that have joined on a VR bandwagon. It's no longer just a luxury. It's actually beginning to be a necessity, especially for someone who's serious about flight simming or who's using it as a training tool.
So, sorry, Sergio, go.
Yeah, I was going to say all this kind of reminds me when do you guys remember when this company called 3DFX launched this very small card called Monster 3D or something? Yeah, you guys remember?
Oh,
Actually,
Monster
yeah,
3D
yeah,
Pro. My
when
wow. Yep.
actual 3D started to appear on the market,
Hmm.
and all of the sudden, I was you guys probably remember this game, Quake, the first real 3D game to ever enter
Yeah.
the market. Yeah,
Oh,
which
how many hours did we all waste? Not waste.
I
Did we
don't.
do spend researching as a youth, playing?
I have no
In order
idea,
to
but I
calculate the hours, I need my accountant. So let me call him real
yeah
quick.
yeah, but I can tell you that I spent a lot of time playing
Mhm.
Quake and
Mhm.
playing Team Fortress, and I can tell you that perhaps 3 or 4 months ago, I replayed the whole game from start to finish. I'm not joking, but yeah,
Bless your
but
heart.
I was feeling nostalgic. I was actually bored, but instead of trying to run and riding a bicycle and swimming, uh,
Hey, hey,
like
Who
just
would do that when they're bored?
I
yeah, like
just
I'm bored.
because.
I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
play games because I'm bored. I'm not going. Yeah, I'm not going to kill myself.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Note.
but
Side note for those following along at home. Side note for those following along at home. As viewers of my channel will know, occasionally I run away and do Spartan races. So, like, basically, long story short, last year or
Literally.
at the start of this year, I decided I'm bored of doing Spartan races. Yeah, I know already. Stupid comment. Anyway, I thought let's take on triathlon. So I've been training for my first
Mm.
triathlon, which is coming up very shortly. And bear in mind that at the start of this year, in January, when I made this decision, I had never ridden a bicycle before in my life. Ever.
It never gets old. Every time he tells me this, I'm like, you're just totally nuts, man. I love it.
So hence
But more power to you.
side comment. Anyway, back to simulation,
yeah,
Sergio.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So, you guys remember when I can't remember. Okay. You guys remember when those cards started on they started appearing on the market,
Uh-huh.
and there was a tipping point in which developers had to start developing for both, the new hardware, but still support the whole software rendering system that games
Hmm.
had. And I think we are either at that same tipping point or
Yeah.
perhaps a little before that tipping point because let's be very honest, um, there are games or titles or types of games, and some people will kill me because I'm using the word game, in which VR works much better than other types. And I
Absolutely.
think, yeah, I think the flight simulation community is one that really uses VR to its full extent.
Yeah.
And one thing that you said, Drew, and that's right, and you are 100% correct. I think the flight sim community, it's the gaming community, and I'm going to get flack from that again, that spends much more money than any other community, be it
Yes.
first person shooters or whatever. We spend
Hmm.
a lot of money, and
Yep.
mostly because a lot of guys are grown ups, and that's a fact. We have a lot of adults, using flight simulators. So I think that inside the gaming market,
Mm.
we are probably the community that will push VR and get the money from our pockets and throw it at at the
Yep.
manufacturers and
Hmm.
get VR rigs. But I think we are on that tipping point where developers cannot do their titles for VR only because this is not widespread. Nowadays you're going to buy a computer and there's the 3D card inside. You cannot do it any other way. Even the motherboards with the embedded chips come with a 3D chip, come with a
Mm.
GPU.
Right.
Yep.
It's a
Hmm.
shitty GPU, but it comes with a GPU, so it's commodity. So it's
Yep.
something that it's part of the computer, just like the soundboard. You
Hmm.
guys remember we used to buy actual
The
separated
creative
sound
Sound
cards?
Blaster sound card.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
Yep.
god.
yeah,
Yep.
I think I
yeah.
still have one around here somewhere. Hmm.
You can see that on motherboards. Like you have embedded sound cards, embedded graphic cards,
Mm.
embedded network cards. You have it all the things that
Hmm.
everybody expects to be part of the computer comes embedded on the motherboard. And I don't think we'll see you know um, Oculus Rift embedded in the motherboard anytime soon.
Never say never. Never
so
I
say never.
I said anytime soon.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm just sorry. I'm just having this moment of just thinking of like, and all you kids at home, you'll never know what it's like having to have use up a slot on your
Yeah.
motherboard for your network card, your graphics card,
I was
your
yeah.
your
And
sound card.
yeah,
The
we had
torture,
slots.
it was real. We used to
It
have
was
two monitors
real.
side by side. They were flat. We had to stare at this thing.
Have you
You
guys
kids, you don't know.
have you guys looked at the inside of your computer nowadays? Do you guys remember how we had it, like a motherboard? We some guys, some of
Mhm.
us had to buy motherboards with extra PCI slots because it wanted
Yes.
to play. Yeah, you look inside your computer
Yep.
right now, and my computer has this open side thing, and I just have the graphics card there, and I'm like, oh shit.
It's like I've
Yeah,
got all this
I
space. What do I do with this space? Oh.
Yeah, so someone stole all the insides of my computer. There's
know.
just yeah, and I was like, you were talking about the embedded VR thing, and I was just imagining you with the Oculus Rift with a motherboard. Because it was embedded.
If they could figure out a way to just put like a hard drive in there or something like that, I'd probably be set. I'd just do all of my recordings on here and just go from
I
there and upload
So
it to
think
YouTube.
can we
I
can we
think
can we
time.
can we copyright now the idea of a NUC PC built into an Oculus Rift? Can we
This is
Oculus?
going.
We're
Yeah,
taking the idea. We're patenting it
Yep,
right now.
yep.
That's
yeah,
ours.
yeah.
NUC
This
PC
no, this
attached to a
yeah,
Rock
this is
Rift.
going. But this is going to happen. That's what
Mm.
they are not going to embed obviously a kit inside the motherboard, but the whole
Mm,
kit will be the computer. So yeah, that is going to happen in the future. That being said, I think that we are on a tipping point where with the control, so there's
Mm.
no more
hmm.
keyboard, no more mouse, just
Yep.
just the kit and the controllers, and there you go.
Got a virtual
Uh,
keypad in front of you. You just
yeah,
use these things. And actually, when my son, I gave him the chance to test this out before I actually tried it. When he was utilizing it, one of the things that he was suggesting was in the next iteration of Oculus, instead of using something like this, why don't they just simply have a glove?
yeah, they're working on it.
That
Yeah,
simple.
I've
They
seen a
are
prototype.
working on it,
I've seen a
and
prototype.
yeah, and it feels the movements of your fingers. So you have a
Hmm.
virtual keyboard, and you are swiping on that virtual
Yeah,
keyboard. So
that's the next step. That's the
yeah,
next step. We're like
that's
in
going.
Minority Report. Remember that movie?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're moving towards that, but nowadays you do need developers to focus on both ends, on both the guys
Yeah.
that have VR and on the simming community. Like you said, Drew, there are a lot of people jumping into the bandwagon and going VR all the
Hmm.
way. Unfortunately, me and Tristan, we are poor simmers, so we cannot
With
afford it yet.
we're the poor grumpy
Uh,
simmers, so you know.
yeah, we're the poor.
I'm
Yeah,
not even
we're
going to
going.
tell you what bills did not get paid for
Yeah,
me to get this thing. If you
yeah.
see the next Grumpy Simmer episode and there's like cars going behind me and there's like a wino next to me asking me if I've got a cigarette, you'll know what happened.
Yeah.
This
Um,
thing drained my bank account.
so we're to all our viewers right here, we're going to do two spin-offs, which is the hobo Grumpy Simmer, and the two poor Grumpy Simpers. So I cannot speak
I,
today. So yeah, we're going
yep.
to do spin-offs, and hopefully the hobo Simmer doesn't go into the no the inmate Simmer where you get arrested for all the bills you haven't paid. So yeah, but coming back to VR, we are
I,
digressing here, guys. Yeah, I think that they still need to focus on both ends. They need to
mm,
to cater for these two areas, and I think that the non VR area is one that is going to take a lot of time to conquer because VR has to go mainstream, and that's going to take a while.
Mhm.
That's
I
going to take a
I
while.
definitely think that for me, I think that you're right, and because I too remember those days of when 3D graphics was sort of first sort of just starting out, and the concept of something graphics powered by something that wasn't OpenGL was just that was just what that was madness. So I definitely think that
Mhm.
I think we are approaching that tipping point. So yeah, I think that it's important that developers develop for both. I also agree because it's funny because when I do the weekly news video, a lot of things that I see are in the VR space, and there's a lot of things that I wouldn't classify as simulators, but get put into the simulation category, whether it be by developers or other reviewers, simply because that's what VR is. VR
Yep.
is very much simulating a reality.
Hmm.
So even if it has nothing to do with simulation, it's you don't really have another genre to put it into. So a lot of
Yeah.
VR, and I think VR gets really, for all the flack that VR cops, I definitely agree that like just watching it in the last 18 months where it's really been sort of
Hmm.
on that mainstream journey. I agree, Sergio, it's not mainstream yet, but it is getting close.
Yeah.
And seeing the leaps and bounds that we're seeing, excuse me, in development of these platforms is it's quite inspiring. So I think it's a great time to have, and yeah, I agree. I agree, Drew. That I think that if you want it to take your simi experience to a next level, VR is the way to do it. So it is definitely
Right.
a must have for developers to look into it, and whether or not. But as you say, Sergio, but still supporting the flat screen users as well, because it's going to be many years before it becomes a completely mainstream where you can sort of start looking at moving away from a flat screen user base.
Yeah.
Hmm, I
Let me
agree.
just finish with this note. I've only tried VR once, okay, and it was at this small science exhibition, and the world was it was so bad. It was like this very 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 ugly 3D world. I wasn't in control. I was just wandering around, and the textures were terrible. The 3D was terrible. It was really really bad. But the thing is, it tricked my brain so well. I felt like I knew it was a fake world. It was a really fake world. You could see it, but I felt like I was inside that fake world. And
Hmm.
I'm a skeptical guy. I'm a very skeptical guy. And when Oculus Rift started to appear and people started talking about it, and they were like, "Oh, this is great. This is so fantastic." I was like. Mm. And I was like that because I have this problem where I cannot see 3D in movies. I go watch a 3D movie with my family and they're all, oh, wow, and I'm like, yeah, flat for me,
Yep.
flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't see 3D. I don't know if it's my eyesight or it's the fact that I don't know. I've been working with the computers for so long that my brain starts to actually realize what it is. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, VR might be cool for some people, not for me. And I was blown away. I mean, I was inside this fake world. I knew it was fake. And there was a part where we were walking on the top of a building, and I was actually afraid to fall from the building. I was afraid from falling from a fake building that I know it was fake. It was ugly as hell, fake as hell.
But
There was no
that's the
way.
engagement you get from a quality
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
experience, and that's what
I
you
Yeah.
want to look for.
cannot even start to imagine how it is inside DCS. Let's say DCS
Uh-huh.
because the graphics in DCS are
I,
absolutely amazing. I cannot start to imagine how it is,
I
and
I think
I've been
The Nam flashbacks comment, I think, kind of summarizes
yeah
that one.
yeah
I think.
definitely
Yeah.
yeah, and
That's I'm not even exaggerating on that
Mm.
one. I'm not even 100% sure if there is such a thing as past lives, but if there was, I'm pretty sure I was a Huey pilot in Nam and died right before 1970 because it feels like second nature. I don't know if you got a chance, Sergio, to see the little video that I put up, the demo that my son and I did.
yeah.
When we first got the Oculus Rift, as you were talking about the standing on a skyscraper,
Hmm.
I can confirm it feels like you're up there to the point where my mind was thinking that the wind was blowing on me up
Yeah.
there. It and DCS to use that as another example. Um, I decided today when I was flying around in the Huey that I wanted to induce VRS just to see what would happen. You literally feel it in the pit of your stomach. I recovered, mind you. I did not crash. I did recover at about 50 feet, but still,
Yeah.
just that drop, the like
Counts.
200-300 foot drop. I took this thing off and I'm like, okay, this thing's a little too real.
And by then, Drew went and just changed clothes because he was feeling yeah
Yeah.
okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
So,
but that's the thing. Yeah,
mm,
that's the thing. I cannot even imagine. So I take your word because I believe you, of course, and
Mm.
I have no way of questioning you, or I have no you know there's no reason
Well,
for
like
me to
yourself, I
question.
was a skeptic too.
Yeah,
So I
but
understand
yeah,
exactly where you're coming from. But it took those two experiences at Flight SimCon for me to really understand
yeah.
basically what I've been missing. And now that I've got this thing, yeah, it's lived up to the hype. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have the same kind of experience once you get something like this.
Yeah, I hope so soon. I hope. So yeah, Tristan, what's next, buddy?
well, I was just going to say, I want to use oh, excuse me. I want to use a bit of a because we're talking about developers and sort of what they're sort of road mapping, and I want to leave that into talk about sort of the way they're sort of engaging with each other. So engaging with each other, not engaging with each other, but engaging with us. Because one of the things I think
Us
we
as
can,
in the community.
yeah, exactly. Because I think we
Okay.
can. Okay, we've talked about this because we as a and Sergio, you made a very good point. Is that and it's something that I kind of I almost don't like about our community. But I'm guilty of it as well. Is that we are a community that has, for the most part, very deep pockets. And those of us who've been around a long time shudder to think of how much money we've thrown at our hobby and our passion over the last however many years. Um, and I sort of look at that and just sort of go, okay, well, where's the engagement? Like, it's the sense of community that drives it and keeps it going. But at the same time,
Hmm.
where's the engagement at? And I want to talk about the different levels of engagement that we get between each other as communities, as different sort of user orientated communities, and with developers. And I think we see at the moment we're seeing a real sort of spectrum of attitudes across the sort of development, the community space. Um, and for me, I think it was really highlighted to the nth degree at Flight SimCon this year. I
Yep.
think that really showcased exactly, and I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this one.
Again,
Just
again, right?
because that's
Because
just what I do.
yeah, no,
Be,
we
be,
have talked about this before,
yeah,
so it's nothing.
we
Yeah,
haven't. It's nothing kind of new, but I really want to reinforce it because actually, funny enough, well, actually, part of the opinion has changed a little actually over the last couple of months. Um, but I still want to think that I look at the developers and we look at so the big ones. So the big ones that we're talking about, like in this VR space and the engagement. Now we mentioned that Eagle Dynamics is very invested in VR, and they do a great solid work. But their engagement with the community is shit. It's non-existent.
We're
And
still waiting for the Hornet, by the way. I've heard 2 more weeks.
didn't we hear 2 more weeks like 3 months ago?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
probably in 2 weeks we'll hear 2 more weeks
yeah,
because
but
they never tell us anything.
that's the whole DCS thing. It's you probably already saw it, Tristan. 2 more weeks is it's kind of like a punchline on the DCS community. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, it's a punchline. Yeah, it is.
it's
It is.
it's
So
ridiculous, and
yeah,
I struggle to understand. And don't get me wrong, the DCS product is freaking amazing. I love it. The quality, the depth, the detail that's gone into the Eagle Dynamics and their partners produce is great. But trying to communicate with Eagle Dynamics is just a nightmare.
now
Mm-mm.
do you know who I blame?
Mm.
Us. We are the ones to blame. The community is the one to blame.
Why?
Uh, well, because we're a bunch of retards that want everything yesterday, and if these guys
Instant
tell us,
gratification.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if these
Yes.
guys are
Okay.
going to tell, they're developing again. No, they're developing software.
Mm.
This is not something easy. This is not something where you push a button and things
Mm.
happen. And shit happens all the time. I'm a software developer. You guys know that,
Mm.
and shit happens to me all the time. And I'm constantly having to review my timings and to review whatever I'm doing because stuff really happens, and you
Mm.
do not expect stuff to happen, and shit happens. And the thing is, whenever and this is not that this is not something that's happening to DCE to ED. This is something that has been happening to developers for ages, and not just for developers that actually charge for their work, but also for freeware developers. And
Universal.
you have seen a lot of freeware developers not even mentioning any projects until they are sure they are, releasing it in maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 months. A lot of the guys just shut down, just shut up and don't say anything, because whenever the community starts asking about when it's going to be released,
Mm.
and they are all community members as well, and they want people to know, oh, okay, we're going to release this in 6 months, and 6 months later there's going to be an asshole or two or three or 10 or 100 or 1,000 that are going to the forum and say, you're not releasing this, you're an asshole, you're a scumbag, and you're fooling us,
Mm-hmm.
and developers, companies started to look at this attitude, and they just started to shut down, and they're not
Yep.
to tell us what they are planning to do and when they are planning to do, because we are a community of assholes.
Yeah,
That's the truth.
no, we are, and
Yeah.
I've made
No,
and
you're
I've
right.
made this point.
You're
I've made
right.
this point multiple times. Is that we are a bunch of we as a community can be a real bunch of self-entitled pricks. We really can be. But I suppose I want to extend on what you said, Sergio, because I agree. I think I mean, we only have to look at Aerosoft. I mean, I feel for Aerosoft. I really do.
Yeah,
I mean,
guys.
what was that? What, 7 years? 7 years,
I
7 years
think
of
it was
development?
closer to 8.
7, 8 years of
Yeah.
development. And look, I agree, Sergio, because shit happens in development, and I get that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, should there not also be some form of transparency as well? Like, say that, we are working on a project, or we have this roadmap to where we want to go. And say, and I almost sort of say, let's talk about, just spitting some ideas off the top of my head here now would be something like, okay, let's use DCS for an example, and say, okay, we've got a roadmap of producing the Hornet, the Tomcat, and a new map. Would it not be wise to sort of lay out the roadmap without a time frame?
Well, they've done that. You know that they're developing those products.
Mm.
In a
Right.
way
Right.
they are. I do agree with you that perhaps they should be more active on the community, and talk to people and be more transparent about some things. But you know, it's so tricky. It's so hard to be able to do this
Mhm.
without pissing someone else off and without having to constantly be doing damage control.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
fact.
you got to find that fine line, that middle ground.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Mm.
especially as far as DCS goes, right now we're in a situation where we've got two completely different avenues that are happening at the same time involving development. You got the Hornet. Hornet, of course, is being developed by Belsum Tech, Eagle Dynamics. So they're in partnership. And yeah, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. That seems to be the running joke going on, and we're barely getting information about the Hornet. Now Matt Wagner started putting out little videos here and there with like the cockpit tutorial and so on. So since we can follow the history of the development of the DCS aircraft, we know it's coming soon. Because if he's gotten to that point, they're not far off from releasing. But they still haven't said when it's going to release. Is it going to open alpha? Is it going to open beta? Is it actually going to get a full release? More than likely, it's going to go to an alpha or a beta first. But we still don't know the date. And then on the flip side, you have two other aircraft that are currently being developed. You've got my absolute favorite, the F-14 Hornet, being developed by Heatblur.
Sorry,
Those
F-14
guys
Hornet?
are almost done with it.
You just said F-14 Hornet.
Stop.
Wash your mouth out with
I
soap,
need more
Beltio.
coffee. Oh my God. I just lost all my cred right there.
Yes,
F-14
you did.
Tomcat, the Tomcat, the Tom Kitty. Jeez. So yeah, you got that being developed by Heatblur. I'll never live that down, by the way.
You will
Yeah.
never. No,
And
I'm never going
They've
to
been,
live that
for the
down.
most part, transparent with it. They've been giving us videos and so on and so forth. But still, they haven't given us a date. We can just see through the pictures
Yeah.
and through the videos just how
And
far
that's-
they've gone.
And that's, I think, what I'm sort of saying is that we look at somebody, and I think they had the right path, which is they've been releasing a fairly steady stream of updates without putting a date.
Right.
And so they're still
And
engaging
I
that
don't think,
community and that
yeah,
discussion.
I don't think that they're going to put a date anytime soon.
Yeah.
They're going to put a date when they are sure they are going
Yes.
to release it.
Mhm.
Which,
Otherwise, they'll get people
yeah,
knowing them and calling them names,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And
People are
they're
already crawling up and down them. Same thing with the
yes.
Razbam. That's the other aircraft that's being worked on, the
Oh, the
Harrier.
Harrier, yep.
We've been getting updates from Larry at Razbam literally every week. He's always got a video coming up on YouTube. He's always got pictures. This week, they said that they're working on a lot of the internal and behind the scenes stuff. So they really didn't have anything new to show us. They just had like a little wall of text that basically said what they were doing. I decided to post that on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. And almost immediately, people are up in arms. Where's the picture? Where's the proof? Where's the progress?
It's like coding doesn't
works
always
the
have
way.
progress pictures.
Right.
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Look,
and that's the thing.
Mm.
That's the thing.
And
Oh,
I,
also about just
Yeah.
let me just also ED, we're talking about this, yes. So also ED has this issue that in which they have products they develop on their own, and they have products that are being developed by third-party developers. So they're not in control of the whole ecosystem in terms of communication and letting people know what they are doing. Now, for someone like ED to be able to do this, close proximity interface with the community, they would probably have to do something that you remember DevTale Games did very recently, which is get someone dedicated to the community. You know, someone that only does community, it only talks to the community, only does all these small actions on social media, talk to people, and do any damage control if and when necessary. And if you notice, Chris is very, very low profile, even doing this full time. Okay, Chris does his thing, but he's very careful with his words. He doesn't like and doesn't want and doesn't throw things out there which he's not 100% positive will happen at a certain date. And all the updates they do, most of the videos they do on a weekly basis, they don't tell you what they're going to do next week or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They'll do things.
They tell you what we're doing in 2 days' time. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do it when they are 100% sure of what they're doing, which for some people may sound annoying or like they don't know very much what they're doing, or very boring. But this is, I believe, this is the way they found the best for them to be able to tell the community what they are doing without getting everybody mad at them. And companies
and they
like
still manage to get people mad at
and
them regardless.
Look, just when they're on Twitch, just check out the chat box on the right. I was talking. Yeah, I was talking to Amy the other day about this, and she was like, "I don't understand why we have so many people trolling us. People actually go there just to troll us." And again, that's the community. And that's what developers are afraid of, and that's what developers want to prevent.
See, I just look at the Lockheed Martin solution. The Lockheed Martin solution of just don't engage with the community.
Just don't engage them.
Just whatever. We don't give a shit. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like literally, that is their attitude. Like you look at them, and their engagement on the forum is literally, I swear, the official EA response. So EA, the official. Sorry, I've had some issues with EA lately too. Anyway, the official Lockheed Martin. I swear, Lockheed Martin have like 10 answers that they can give on forums. And literally, they just go, "What was this guy? What did this guy
number
post?"
picker.
It's like pretty much. It's like literally, I've asked questions and I've literally just got 3 stock standard copy and paste responses, and I'm like, these responses have absolutely nothing to do with what I'm asking. What the actual F are you doing? Are you even reading this post? And and they literally, Lockheed Martin's way of doing it is literally like, we don't care. And that was reinforced to me at the Flight SimCon. And again, look, no issues with the guy that was there. He was great. I got to have a really good chat with him afterwards. He's a really passionate developer. Like, props to him. He's awesome. They do some great work. But as far as community engagement goes, Their idea, I think,
There
is
is
actually
none.
possibly the best one. It's even better than ED. Like, there is absolutely
It is.
zero. There is
Yeah,
zero
that's the
engagement.
thing. And that's the thing. It's working, you know.
Look at all the people
Everybody-
raving about how amazing Prepared is and trolling
Yeah,
Dovetail, trolling
yeah.
ED, trolling X-Plane. I'm like, literally,
They're
like, you
troll-
realize that,
They're
like,
trolling everyone that talks to us, and,
Yep.
and they're loving Prepare. They love P3D. And Lockheed doesn't give a shit what we
and Lockie's
say.
literally sitting
or-
there going, we do
Yeah.
not give a shit about you. You are doing all of our
Yeah.
marketing for us. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
they're just
wake up,
releasing the
people.
product and they have no
Well, that's just
problem.
the thing. We're not even getting a thanks, guys. You
yeah,
know?
it's like,
just
we're not. Yeah.
Okay, keep doing what you're doing. Whatever.
Oh,
As long as you're paying us that 199 or whatever it is.
Oh, like, look, as I said, like, seriously, and I've said this before about Lockheed Martin, is that I get, don't get me wrong, they've done some great stuff. I'll always say, and Prepared is still my go-to review platform. Prepared version 3, I still haven't fully made the jump to version 4. Prepared is still my go-to platform for stock standard when I just go sim for just to have a bit of fun, and to do my reviews. Prepared is still, version 3 is still my go-to platform. But at the end of the day, it is, we are at their mercy. They really don't care, and this is why I find it a bit odd when people, you know, take out, you know, slay against the high price of DCS modules, or people sort of go talking about, you know, X-Plane, the fact that, you know, X-Plane, oh, you've got to pay $60 for X-Plane when it was re-released. I'm sorry, how many years was it between X-Plane 10 and 11? What, 3 years, 4 years? Yeah, Lockheed Martin pump out a new one, you got to pay, you know, $200 for every 2 years. Like clockwork, and people sort of, you know, hanging shit on Dovetail about trying to rip the community off. When, I'm sorry, we don't even know what their pricing structure is for Flight Sim World, and for FSX, it's really nothing different from what's already been in the market since Microsoft let go of the reins, you know, 11 years ago. So
Also, the price for FSW right now is pretty good.
it's
We don't
incredible.
know the price range. We don't know the price range whenever it goes, a full version. But right now, it's pretty cheap. There's no reason for someone not to at least give it a try.
Yeah.
And if a lot of guys out there are saying, "Oh, this is just FSX," yeah, so get it. Do you use FSX? So get this one,
So
because this is.
what is prepared if it's just FSX?
Exactly. Oh no,
No,
prepared.
that.
Prepared so
No,
much
no,
more.
Prepare is this special thing that, it comes in this golden box and it does coffee. It has this button in this
Oh,
coffee.
okay.
Yeah.
When Prepared can make my Nespresso double shot on almond milk, then I will happily go out and pay my $200.
For $200
bucks.
it should. Right now.
I literally can go out and
For
buy a new
$200
freaking
it should right
coffee
now.
machine for
Yeah.
that price.
You
Anyway,
realize I could get like 3 or 4 DCS modules for that price?
And coffee machines
That I
as
would
well.
actually fly?
Yeah.
Yeah. And coffee machines as well.
Oh.
You can get
Oh,
a
yeah.
coffee
You
machine
know,
for
but-
$50.
okay.
Well, I got the Keurig behind me, so I'm good.
So this is the thing, is I feel that, and then of course there's the last one that I intend to talk about, which is X-Plane. You know,
Let
like,
me just be
Laminar.
honest, Tristan. Let's just be honest here with the Prepare. No, for real. Let's
Yep.
be honest with Prepare there. We're talking about $200 if you are using it not as a student, okay? Because the license is really
Okay.
$60. Okay, so
Well,
let's be honest with the guys.
here's-
We're going to have a lot of people complaining if you don't do this.
you know what? I'm gonna deliver the Lockheed Martin response for this. Lockheed
We're
Martin.
Oh, I can't
No,
wait for this.
literally, this
He's
is
going-
like their response.
No, he's going to shut up now. Silence.
Lockheed Martin's response to anything to do with that is basically yes. Sorry, is like, we do not comment on the choice, on the type of license that you should purchase. Please read our licensing agreements. Look, people buy the license they choose to buy. You know whether you know, for everyone who buys it, you know whether you should be paying that for that license or not. I'm not going to comment any further on that. As I said, I purchased the license that I'm required to purchase.
Because
and-
you actually laugh while you're using it, so you cannot laugh while you're using it.
Yes, exactly. Because remember, if you use the academic one, you can't laugh. Oh, I damn you, Drew! I've got your finger wag going on here. Anyway,
Yes.
so So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so prepared does have, yes, it does have its various license differences
Yeah.
with prices to pay, um,
I'm
fundamental
just
differences
mentioning,
with it,
yeah,
but
I'm just
and
mentioning it because
yes,
people are going to
thank you.
say there's a $60.
People are gonna say,
Yeah.
oh, but it's only a $60
Mm.
license. It's like, well, read the fine print anyway.
Yeah.
But yes,
Mm.
moving on. Thank you for that, Sergio. So yes,
Laminar.
with
Hmm.
Laminar, Laminar, I think have.
Who also doesn't care, by the way, I should add, when it really comes down to it.
But
The,
it's
well,
such a cooler, but they have such a cooler way of not caring.
yes, I
Yeah,
think they have a cooler way of not caring
you know,
because
it's like,
they have a very
okay,
open forum. They have a very open
yeah,
forum that is very. They have
Hmm.
a community that reminds me a lot, actually, of the FS9 community, FS8, FS9 community. Back in the days pre FSX, which was very engaged, very interactive, um, and Laminar sort of keep a lot of avenues open. They may not directly engage as often, as definitely not as often as Dovetail do with Chris and his work. They still engage
Hmm.
though, which is, so they're already two steps ahead of Lockheed and Eagle. But what they do, I tend to notice, is that they tend to sort of sit back until they do major updates. Um, and
yeah,
I think Sergio, that they sort of are trying and working very towards a very similar thing that you mentioned with Dovetail. Because I agree. I think Dovetail have got a fairly good process going on where they'll only sort of drop that sort of, they'll only confirm they're doing something when it's right, when it's absolutely confirmed. Um, I think they could
yeah,
do. I think they could do better with laying out a bit more of a roadmap of this is where we would like to go, even if it's just
Hmm.
a give us like a 6 month window to deliver it. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
think they could still do that a bit more. Because X-Plane do, I think Laminar do something very similar where they sort of say, yeah, they do more this where, well, yeah, we're going to deliver that at some point in the next six
yeah.
months. And
But I
Mm.
think I do have a theory about that.
mm,
Laminar has a very stable product,
yes,
which they own and they have been developing for quite some time. And X-Plane 10 was massive and it was stable and it was working and it was incredible. Okay, and they stepped up with the version 11, but it's still the base of something. It's still using the same base of 10, which is something that was stable, and
mm,
um, they were in full control of it. Dovetail Games, on the other hand, they are still walking on, this swamp terrain in which they have their
Hmm.
feet wet, and I don't think things are quite stable yet at
mm,
Dovetail and with FSW. They are still working on they are still probably working on stuff that they are pulling their hair off, and finding problems, and I think that right now, for them to present a roadmap in which they would tell you, okay, we're going to do this in 6 months or 1 year or whatever,
mm.
would probably backfire eventually because they would probably have to switch on
Right.
priorities
Yep.
and they probably would have to
Yep.
push
Okay, that's fair
stuff.
enough.
Yeah,
It's
you
not.
hit the nail on the head there. Priorities. Dovetail
Yeah,
has mentioned quite a few times that they take our feedback seriously, so they're prioritizing. So I would not be too surprised if their job list from a week to week basis does tend to change
Mm.
depending on what the needs of the community are. But guess what? We asked for that.
yeah,
They're
Yes,
just delivering.
yes,
yeah,
and I would like to highlight the fact that they are the most responsive of all the developers. They are the most dynamic, the most responsive because when we've pointed out issues, we've had resolutions really quickly, like usually within
Hmm.
1 to 2 weeks, and some fairly
Yeah, at
major
least a week.
updates.
Yeah.
That passengers update, the bugs that came out with the passengers update, that was fixed within less than a week. And well, the fact that we even got the
Hmm.
passengers appearing as weights, like that was something we asked for. We had that in less than a month. Like that was amazing, and that was something that
Yep.
everybody, and I'd previously talked to Aces developers that said you can't do that. Like the core engine won't support you doing that. Suddenly it does. Like
yeah.
that's
So
an incredible thing. So yeah, definitely want to say that.
yeah, no, you imagine they had a roadmap, okay, and
Mm,
they were telling us 6 months ago what's going to happen in 6 months.
mm,
So what would they do right now? Would they add passengers? to FSW and at the expense of something that was on the roadmap and wasn't going to be?
Mm.
Or would they have to work on two things at the
Yep.
same time and probably have to hire another person? And let's face it,
Hmm.
increase the expenses of the team, which is
Yep.
not cheap right now, and they're
Yep.
probably not making
Right.
a whole lot of money. We have to see things as they are. These are jobs. This is a company, and they have
Hmm.
investors. They have people putting money on the company, but they do need to keep all the costs controlled. So I think right now they are doing exactly what you said, Tristan. They are listening to us and
Mm.
giving us what we've been asking. So I'm not very shocked that we don't have a roadmap, but we have something so much better than a roadmap right now for me, which is the weekly updates. These guys come with something new every week. What
Mm.
else can we ask
Mm.
for?
Yeah,
What
that's
else
very true.
they're
Very true.
yeah, they're not
Yeah.
just shutting up and not telling what they're doing and not telling what's coming next. They are actually telling us, okay, guys, we have
Yep.
this done this week. Okay,
Mm.
we have done this week, and
Hmm.
sometimes they hint something that they're probably going to present next week because probably it's already being done and it's being tested, and they know for sure that it's going
Mm.
come up the next week. So I do like the way that Dovetail Games is working. They don't have a roadmap, but do they have a very active person, which is Chris, in front of the company, talking to us, and they are presenting us with stuff every week.
Mm.
So that for me that
Yeah.
works.
Mm.
The only thing that I can say to that, I love the fact that, they have been very active in communicating with us, which, if you'll remember the very first episode that we had, that's how the finger wag
Yes,
came
yes,
about.
that yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
I wanted
exactly.
them to be more active, so
Yes.
we got what we wanted.
Mm.
The only thing that I can say, at least from the last couple of updates and so on that's come out, is they just need to tone down the hype just a touch.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is a lot of the features that are being added, granted, the way that they're implementing them, absolutely fabulous. However, it's stuff that needs to be in the base game anyway.
Yes.
yeah,
So it's not like anything groundbreaking. So if you
Mm.
could just tone the
agreed.
hype
Yeah,
down just a touch,
It's
but
as
still give us the
yes,
same
because as
thing.
exciting as it is for for them for achievements, and I know from a development perspective, and I'm sure Sergio you'd agree from a software development
yeah,
perspective, the achievements that they're achieving with these is outstanding. It's amazing, but
Oh yeah.
to the community at large that's been spoilt with very high quality third party add ons for 10 years,
Hmm.
it's going to fall a little. It's not going to seem like such a big deal. So I definitely agree that it still celebrate the achievement, watch the hype. I agree. That rounds me up to the final sort of group of feedback people, of course, which is ourselves. It's each other. As we started with this topic, and as we started this whole journey as three grumpy simmers, the community that we are and that we are part of, is very vocal on many different things, and as I'm sure viewers have picked out from this whole litany of thing, is we've been talking about the engagement of developers with the community, but it's also about the engagement of the community with each other. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that can be a challenge. I think it can be a challenge because we have all these different technological ways that we can reach out to each other and whatever, but we can also be, quite frankly, we can be really nasty to each other. Um, I really want to sort of like, I think that we all have such opportunities to learn from each other, and because we all have different skill sets, and I think it's really great to see when we as a community do put those differences aside and actually look for ways to actually support and nurture each other. And I think that's something that we should all keep in mind when we're actually making that Facebook post, when we're making that new forum thread. Think about how to support each other, as well. I think that, I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical
Hmm.
and wanting to hope for a better world. I don't know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It could be a lot better. I mean, I practically live on Facebook, and I know that there are quite a great many of my viewers that really can't stand Facebook. I'll put my link in there, if you all want to talk to me there. You have a easy avenue of getting to me at all
Mm.
times because I'm literally always on Facebook. I'm at work, I'm on Facebook. Don't tell my boss, please. But with that having been said, yeah, the time that I spend on Facebook a lot of times does end up being a little bit toxic, a little bit caustic, because there are certain elements of the community. Maybe it's the immediate gratification crowd, maybe it's just the plain old trolls or the ignoramuses, the people that have
Mm.
nothing better
Mm.
to do than to be antagonists. They seek to drag groups down, and it gets weary after a
Yeah,
while having to
exactly,
deal with
exactly.
this. This is why
It's
I got out of the MMO thing, because there was
yep,
just so many freaking trolls. You just wanted to work alone in an
yep,
MMO.
yep. And it's why I
Yeah, and you,
disengage
you
from a
you
lot of
usually want
forums.
trolls in an MMO.
Mm.
You usually want them, right?
Yeah, to kill.
Yeah.
But and it's great to see, and I agree, Drew, because I disengaged from a lot of communities for a long time, because of that toxic atmosphere,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm fairly selective with where I engage now, and I want to. Part of me wants to engage more, but I got so sick of the toxic bullshit. But I know, Sergio. I know you've had a lot more success with positive engagement, especially recently with
Mhm.
communities. Tell us about some of that.
Yeah, well, you guys probably know. Well, you do know. You are part of the group. I have this flight flight helicopter simulation group on Facebook, and it's been growing for some time, and it's a multi-platform group. So either you use FSX or P3D or Explain or whatever, as long
Or
as
flight gear.
Flight
or
gear,
flight
flight gear.
gear or flight gear, yeah, or CS, yeah, yeah. Thank you for correcting me for adding that information. Um,
If you
I
didn't, you would have gotten flack. You know it.
Yes, yes, and
Oh
I
yes.
know exactly from who. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but flight gear as well, and we have to do an episode on flight gear one of these days.
I have it
So
installed. I have it installed now. I have it installed.
yeah, okay, so give it a try, and maybe in a month to talk about
Maybe.
it. So okay, so I have this helicopter group, so it's all about helicopters, whatever the platform you have, and every group has its own thread, its own theme. For some groups, it's X-Plane 11 or FSW or whatever, and for us, it's all about helicopters. And one of the things that I've noticed in our group is that people are very helpful to each other,
Yeah.
and it's a very nice. The community has its challenges. There's always this guy that tries to get a bit further than we usually allow, but we usually talk to them and things settle down. But the thing is, it's a very small, well, it's a small group compared to others that have 8 or 9 or 10,000 users. We have about 1,500 users right now. But the thing is, everybody helps each other. Okay, and one of the things that I'm really in love, I am really in love with this group and with this community, and I spend most of my Facebook time there, not just because I'm, the admin and I need to keep everything straight and see if no one does anything that shouldn't be doing. But I'm also spending a lot of time there because the community is really amazing, and there are
Mhm.
some people that there are some veterans there. There's Drew, there's Joe Watson, which is one of the guys. It's probably it's not probably it's the guy that does most of the reviews for Ellie Simmer. Is a real world instructor pilot for the U.S. Army. We have guys like Joshua and others. We have a lot of real world pilots that are
Mhm.
there and they have a lot of experience with flight simulation. And then we have those guys that have no experience with the real world helicopters. We have experience with simulation. Then we have guys that are just starting to enter the helicopter flight simulation community in the helicopter flight simulation world. And people there have been absolutely fantastic regarding support that they're giving to everybody, to both the old guys that know a lot about helicopters and helicopter flight simulation but have some issues with hardware, for example, or the newer guys that don't even know how helicopters work, or they
Mhm.
know a little bit, and the veterans go there and help them out and as much as they can. And it's been an amazing experience. And I can tell you, it's not I'm not here trying to advertise the group, But no, I'm not. But the thing is, Drew, and you probably because you are in all the other groups that I don't belong to. This is probably the best Facebook group I am part of right now. It's absolutely amazing. I have no one
Hmm.
telling shit about anyone. I have no one telling bad things about
Yeah.
other
There's
simulators.
no
Like,
drama. Yeah.
yeah, like I have explained, and you use FSX, and FSX is shitty, and you're a moron, and you shouldn't be using. People
Oh,
do
see, that's
tell.
that's the crap that I can't deal with, and I get so
Yeah,
Hmm.
old, it gets so tired of. It's
yeah.
like every platform has its pros and cons. It's just go and help
Right.
each other. Like just okay, if they got the platform that you don't like, that's fine. Still help them as best you can, or just don't comment. This is
Yeah, yeah,
I.
exactly. No,
Mhm.
there's something that the three of us agree, and we have said this on perhaps the first episode, is that, as long as you are having fun with your sim, it doesn't
Yes,
matter what sim you're
yes,
Doesn't
using.
matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you, Tristan, want to use FSX for or P3D, I'm sorry, for your stuff because it works for you,
Mm,
I'm perfectly fine with
It
that.
yep.
works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're going to tell me, okay, Sergio, I want to get into helicopters for real, what I'm going to tell you is that, okay, P3D will somewhat help you because you'll have some basic stuff there that helicopters do. But okay, but you should probably think about moving to X-plane or DCS.
Mm,
If you're not moving, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going
yep.
to say that you're a moron because you're not moving. Is it working for you?
Mm,
Have you tried X-Plane 11 for some reason you found it's so damn hard because let's face it, it's
Mm.
harder. Helicopters are harder than X-Plane and DCS because they're more realistic. But you do want to enjoy helicopters and being able to
mm,
hover, and fly very slow. But you want to do it on an easy way using prepared. Okay,
mm,
do that. Is that your thing? Is that
Yeah.
how you have
yep.
fun with helicopters? Do that. Do you want to do loopings with helicopters in FSW? Do your loopings and do whatever you want.
Yep.
It's up to
Yep.
you. As long as you are having fun, that's the goal, and that's the goal with this group. It's there for us to have fun with each other and
Hmm.
for learning with each other, and it's becoming this amazing group of people, which is doing exactly that. And we have amazing guys right now at the group. And I can tell you, and Drew knows this because we have this separate like treehouse group where only the admins and the moderators are part of when we talk about things that happen inside the group. And we have already people from developers, product managers from companies,
Hmm.
being part of the group, and they are silent, they are not posting, and I think they are just trying to find out.
They're collecting
Yeah,
feedback. Yeah.
I think they are collecting feedback silently. I'm not going to nag them and tell them,
Yep.
oh, here we are, and I'm
Not gonna
going to
call them out. You.
yeah, yeah, not
Yep.
going calling out public like, oh, look, there's this guy from this
Yep.
company here and there. I'm not doing that.
Mm,
They're doing their thing, and I think that the best way we can serve the community is not to call them out and tell the community, oh, look, this guy's here, but to let those guys be there,
yep.
Hmm.
doing their thing, collecting
Right.
feedback, bringing that feedback inside to their companies, and telling their developers, guys, I've been on this group, which has this guys focused on helicopters, and these guys want this or want that, or are complaining about this, or and that's the whole thing. And like I
Hmm.
said, and I'm going to repeat myself here because I'm really excited about this group. If you haven't noticed, I really am. It's
But
such an amazing community, and it's not because of me or because of Drew. It's because of everyone there. It's absolutely. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm loving it, and I'm. About 2 days ago, I started, and that's one of the reasons I created this other group for moderators and administrators. It's starting to grow very fast, and it's starting to have a lot of posts from a lot of people. And right now, it's that it's starting to become something so big that I'm starting to be afraid of it because
Mm.
I'm afraid that we might lose control and this may become a troll fest like other groups, and
yep.
that's something I don't want to happen. I don't
Well, as long
want
as you
this
have,
I
as long
think
as you have, myself and other admins watching out, it should be fine because I don't know if you know, but in addition to helping you out with your group, I actually do admin two other gaming groups. Granted, they're not related to flight simulation at all, but then I have other gaming interests as well. And yeah, it is a constant problem. The larger your group gets, the more potential that you have for trolls. But as long as you have, the right people at the helm or at least watching the baby while you're asleep, you're good.
I think that I think as much as about the helm, I think it's more about the style of conversation that you encourage, and I think that if you continue to encourage a positive thought and a positive environment, that will nurture itself. And I think that and I think I can say from the communities and the forums that I've stayed in over the years, that the ones that survive, the ones that prosper, are the ones that continue to show that nature to each other, and that encourage that supportive nature. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that and sort of speak to you, Sergio, and ladies, because I know you are passionate about it. But I think I always wanted to highlight the fact that as much as we complain about things, and unfortunately we see a lot of the troll fests around with various other communities, the key to holding and keeping a positive community and a positive interaction is actually starts at home. The old saying, charity starts at home. Well, you know what? If you want to have a positive simulation experience, if you want to have a positive engaged experience in a forum, you create one. And I
what
think
you put out comes back to you.
Exactly. Yep. So I just wanted to touch on that, so people to have a think about that before you post that next snide comment or that next nasty remark, about whether it be about a developer, about another user, or a flight sim, or how somebody engages in their own simulator. Have a think about what you want out of an experience. I just wanted to touch on that. So there you go. Yep. All right, I think that is enough rambling from 3 grumpy simmers for 1 month. So I think
one sleepy simmer.
Yeah, sleepy simmer. The whole sim is sleepy simmer. I need to do something. Something, Tristan. I forgot to do this on the beginning.
Absolutely.
And I promised I would give a shout out to our #1 fan, and probably the only one. It's a lady you guys know very well, Amy Sanjari. She's always Amy,
hello.
Amy is our #1 fan, and she is constantly asking me, when is it that we're going to release another episode? And she told me that we should do this twice a week. And she told me. Yeah. I told her that.
It's freaking 5 a.m. There's no way the hell I'm getting up twice a week at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to do this. No.
I told her that you need your sleep, but there's something else that she told me. She told me that we should do a live stream, and I told her, okay, we'll do a live stream when DevTel Games pay us to do the live stream from their own office.
including the airfares to get us
release
there.
Release FSW, invite us in, have us go to your offices, and we'll do a live 3 Grumpy Simmers from your office, from your location, with Chris and the rest of the team live.
Okay, I'm okay with this. I've never been to England. I am okay with this. I've always wanted to go.
I have my passport, so Dufter, I have my passport. I'm ready to travel. I'll reserve that leave, so just call me, and the airfares, and we're good. I'm down with that.
I feel we just put Amy in a bad position. We're joking. We are still going.
We love you, Amy. We love you.
But I had to promise her we'll give her a shout and say hello, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
So there you go.
There you go. Cool. If you want to outdo Amy, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to not only my channel but subscribe to Drew and Belgeode on YouTube, and also don't forget to subscribe and head to Helisimmer and head over to helisimmer.com for some fantastic tips and guides on making the most out of your helicopter flying experience, and head over and look for the helicopter users group on Facebook. I'll put some links in the channel in the description down below. So I want to say thank you very much to my fellow Grumpy Simmers, Drew Belgeode.
Ciao.
And thank you, of course, to Sergio from Helisimmer.
See you guys.
And from me, thank you very much. Good night. And a little bit of a shout out for myself as well. Head over to, if you want to see more of my triathlon craziness and general other batshit stupid crap that I get up to when I'm not flight simming, head on over to my vlog channel, the Tristan Files. I'll put a link in the description down below. All right, guys. Thanks very much. It's been 3 grumpy simmers once again. Thank you very much for this month. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.